All right, so delay is a really tricky effect because if you use it right, it can add some really nice space and depth to your tone, kind of like this. But if you use it wrong, you can immediately lose the characteristics of your tone and sort of spiral out of control in any mix or song that you're playing in. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I like to set up delay in 3 different ways, and then also how to use them in a musical context. My name is Jesse Glick. This is a 5-minute Monday, or should I say Tuesday? Let's get into it. Alright, so a few things for this lesson. One, there's a lot of different styles of delay between like digital, bucket brigade, tape echo, there's a lot of different ones. Doesn't matter for this lesson. All the rules still apply. They will sound a little bit differently, but that's not a big deal. Secondly, there are lots of different ways you can set a delay. These are just the 3 ways that I do it the most when I'm playing with artists or on sessions. So the first kind of delay I want to talk about is a dotted eighth delay. And I'm using the Neural DSP Archetype Corey Wong plugin for this because I can screen record what the pedal looks like the whole time. But this obviously will work with a physical pedal, and that's how I would prefer to do it. Lastly, delay is a rhythmic effect. So what I mean by that is if you are playing along to a song, a rhythm, or a groove, your delay should match that, and it should fit in with what's going on. And if it doesn't, you need to tweak what you're doing with your right hand, your rhythm hand, or tweak a little bit on the pedal to get the sound you want. So the first type of delay that we're going to talk about is the dotted eighth note delay. Now this is a very, very cool and slightly overused effect, but if you do it right, it can make some amazing textures on songs. So when I hit my guitar, a dotted eighth effect will sound something like this. And the effect you'd want to use it for would sound something like this. So let me show you how to get that set up and then also how to play along to a band with it. So first things first, if you're using a pedal that has dotted delay, you want to change the time not to 1/8, but 1/8D, meaning dotted. The next thing that people kind of get wrong with dotted eighth delays is you don't need that many repeats. So your delay pedal will have knobs that say feedback and mix, meaning how many repeats there are and how loud they are. Now, we don't need that many repeats. Like for this one, I really have 3 legible repeats, but the mix is pretty high, meaning that the volume of the actual delay is going to be louder than my signal, and that's really important. So the main thing with this style of delay is that if you're playing a dotted eighth delay, you're actually just going to play eighth notes, straight eighth notes to a groove. So check it out. I have a drum groove going right now. It's just kick, snare, and they're quarter notes, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I use my delay pedal, I'm going to tap tempo those kick and snare beats. So I would tap 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just a reminder to please subscribe to the video. It's free and a super simple way to support my channel. All right, let's get back to the video. So now that I've tapped out the quarter notes to the song, now I'll play eighth notes over that groove, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would sound something like this. So I'm going to count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of a sudden you can see we're getting this really cool effect. And if you play it right and you play something melodic, you should get a sound like this. Now, would I actually play a part like that over a kick and snare pattern like that? Probably not, but I'm using that as an example because it's the same as a metronome, so you can count out your eighth notes over the quarter notes. So the next style of delay I want to talk about is a straight eighth note delay. And it's very similar to a dotted eighth, except you're going to switch things around. So when you have a straight eighth note delay, you're going to play a dotted sequence with your right hand with a straight eighth note sound. So let me show you what that means. Instead, I'm going to take my delay and go to 1/8, just meaning an eighth note. So now I have this. So you can hear the difference, 1, 2, 3, 4, versus the dotted sound, which was, it's much different. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to keep the mix and the feedback sort of similar. I might bring up a little bit more feedback. And again, this time my rhythm is going to be dotted eighths, so that's going to sound something like this. So you can see how the repeats don't get in the way of the notes that you're actually playing, and that's really important with delay. So just remember, if you're playing a dotted eighth delay, play straight eighth notes over it. And if you're playing an eighth note delay, play dotted notes over it. And hopefully that helps you a lot. It helps you conceptualize what you need to play. And you can just tap the quarter notes, so the tap tempo on your delay that chooses the beats per minute of the delays. Just tap those to the quarter notes of the song that you're playing. All right, so the last kind of delay I want to talk about is a slapback delay. Now, again, your delay pedal before, we had it set up so that it was doing the tap division, meaning saying quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th, etc. For this, you want to switch your delay pedal to how many milliseconds there are. And I think a good slapback sits between like 90 and 130 milliseconds. It depends on the player and what their preference is. But I think in general, people will set up a slapback to sound something like this. So just one repeat really quick and kind of loud. That's like that country sound, like the. And that's totally a fine way to set it up. But I'll show you how I like to set it up. I actually like to push the amount of milliseconds of the delay a little bit higher and introduce more feedback, meaning more repeats. But when you're actually playing, you won't hear them, so it'll still sound like a slap. So I'll bring the mix down, meaning how loud the delay is, and then introduce some more feedback, and even a little bit more. So you can hear like 3 quick repeats. 1, 2, 3. And that sounds more like this. So when you're actually playing, you don't really hear the slap, but when you cut it, you do. So the difference would be when I was playing that Johnny Cash song. It almost just sounds like a reverb. So when you're playing single note stuff, I really like that sound. It adds some space, and it's a good way if you don't have an amp reverb, you can do a slapback like this to get that kind of roomy, reverby sound. So hopefully that helped. The main thing to remember for this lesson, if you're familiar with your dotted eighths and your eighth note delays, play rhythmically opposite to them. So if you have a dotted eighth delay, play straight eighth notes. And if you have an eighth note delay, play dotted eighth notes. And then lastly, I just wanted to show that slapback effect where you bring the delay time down quite a bit and then bring up the feedback, so you get more slaps than you think, but when you're playing along, you don't actually hear them. I'm doing these 5-Minute Monday lessons every single Monday for free, so if you want to support the channel, just hit the subscribe button, and I'll have another video coming out next week. Next week's video is how I prepare for a gig from start to finish, and I'll actually show you some footage from the gig. But for now, my name's Jesse Glick, that was a 5-Minute Monday, and I'll see you in the next one.